Hello, it is a Tuesday, and it is also that time of the year. That's right, it's the time of the year where we look at and reflect on sort of the games that we had played over the year. Of course, that's exactly what time of year it is. I thought this would be, amidst other things going on in real life, it being very hustly, very bustly, be nice to do this again. Probably do this every year. In addition to sort of like a longer reflection on the channel and stuff and sort of looking forward in that ways. Probably do that one next week, but this week we're sort of looking at our wrapped stuff, as it were, sort of the big, all your video gaming activity as presented by Steam or Xbox or Sony, or PlayStation, I guess more technically, or Nintendo, right? So we'll be looking at that, sort of thinking about what we've done on and off camera, right? Kind of fun, and like I said, a little bit easy. Apologies once again. I've been saying this for the last several in real life videos, but this one's no exception. Apologies, bit of a mess behind me. We just moved, and also is the holidays, so this will be going on for some time, right? Apologies. And also, today, I got cookies to bake later. I'm baking chocolate chip cookies later. So hopefully they turn out well. But for now, we will do a quick little cut and we'll do the little picture-in-picture and we'll begin with Steam stuff, right? And we'll talk some more as well. All right, see you after the cut. All right, we are back, and here we are with my Steam replay of the year. Like I said, I'm pretty sure we did this last year too, and I kind of enjoyed it, at least on a personal level. I don't know how much people get out of it. I also put up like a social media post. I did one on Blue Sky, I don't know, a few days ago now or whatever, when the stuff first started coming out. But nonetheless, this year I really only played video games on my computer, so, and even to that extent, really only in a few places, but enough to where it's a little decentralized and not everything's going to show up here. But hey, nonetheless, regardless of all that, the lion's share is still on Steam, right? Steam still holds something of a, monopoly on that time, I guess. Regardless, here we are, my Steam Replay 2024. Can already see preview of stuff that we had done, a lot of it, like I'd mentioned, on the channel, and a little bit of it not. This year, you played a variety of different games. Here are a few of your highlights. 13, which was actually 6 more than last year. True enough, I don't play a lot of games these days anymore, because a lot of my free time now is kind of devoted to, I've mentioned this in the past, in lieu of being able to play a lot of different games and finish them to completion and all of that, a lot of that extra time is sort of devoted to, like, rendering out a video, editing a description, running the YouTube channel and stuff like that, right? It eats into the free time a little bit. And also at the same time, it's a little bit more worthwhile for me to look at, like, oh, maybe instead of, and maybe this is a bad way to think of it, I don't know, maybe this is bad, but sometimes I'll think, oh, maybe I should save this game and do a video on it, or even do a full playthrough on it, or something like that, right? Next time I'm not so busy. Lord knows that is the case right now with, like, for instance, Indiana Jones, Stalker 2, stuff like that is very much sort of like going through my head. But hey, 13 this year, 7 of which were new. We got a whopping 226 achievements unlocked across 9 games, so not even all the games I played this year got achievements in. 71 were rare, which, I don't know, I've never been a big achievement person. 81% played with controller or keyboard and mouse, and 19% with controller. I'm pretty sure I know exactly what 2 games I played this year were with controller. Got that going on. I think last year I was almost entirely keyboard and mouse, but this year it's a little bit more of a split. And shockingly, right? A bit of a surprise here. Somehow, already, Baldur's Gate 3 has rocketed up to the top of my Steam playtime. Despite not having started until like 2/3 of the way through the year, it has already rocketed up to being my, like, predominantly largest and longest played game of the year, which is pretty wild. As I've mentioned in that playthrough, not only am I doing sort of the recorded playthrough for the channel, but also I'm playing it with my dear partner, right? We have a bit of a co-op campaign that we're going through. We play it like once or twice a week whenever we both have time and all of that. It's been very enjoyable. We're definitely going at a slower pace than the channel and all of that, right? And deliberately so. And as you can see here, next up is Starfield, right? Still putting a lot of time into that. This year also, partway through, right? This year, for the channel, we took the CRPG slot and kind of just made it a daily event, right? Rather than having it be, I think it was Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday, right? And the other days it was usually like Skyrim or something like that, right? A BGS game, as it were, because, you know, they go on very long. But this year we kind of swapped that around. We're doing, I guess throughout most of the year, we're doing double the sort of videos that we normally do. But I don't know. It hasn't really weighed on me too much, I guess, right? Third on this list is Baldur's Gate 2 Enhanced Edition, right? Which, shockingly, I guess we finished that this year, right? Shockingly enough. I don't even remember when it was I swapped around the sort of slots and all of that, right? I kind of like the idea of eventually, perhaps once we finish Starfield in full form, which is probably going to take some time. I kind of like the idea of just having 2 slots and 2 videos a day, barring Morrowind Mondays or anything like special or unique like that, or like barring IRL videos, right? To where it's just like, okay, we do Morrowind Mondays, some one-offs here and there. And then, for instance, in this case, it would be like every day at night, or in my time zone, there will be a Baldur's Gate 3 video. And then during the daytime, like 6 hours or so prior, ideally, but you know, it's always tentative, there will be a Starfield video, right? And of course, whatever those games are can change, you know, but that's sort of what I've been thinking about, you know. Anyway, we'll scroll down here to the next part. How you stack your year against the rest of the Steam community. I feel like this is kind of revealing that a lot of people are on Steam and will log into it. Like, how do they weigh this metric? The Steam community. Does it require that you have logged in to Steam during this year? Right? Or that you just have a Steam account that is in some way active during this year? Or that you have bought a game or spent money on Steam during this year? You know, what determines the amount of people within the Steam community? I don't know. I feel like that's very important information, because this is, frankly, these are kind of wild stats, right? These are kind of wild. And I do figure that a lot of people on Steam are folks probably playing like multiplayer games. Like, I'm pretty sure stuff like Dota 2 and Counter-Strike 2 are still very high on like who is playing what on Steam, you know? Those are still really high up there. And a lot of those people playing those games are the same people who always play those games, right? Folks who get into single player games, even if it's like a 50-50 split or, you know, some kind of split, you're pretty much always going to be like, yeah, I'm keeping an eye out for my favorite like franchise or whatever, my favorite IP, whatever's within this world, development studio that I really enjoy. I keep an eye out for them. If it looks good, I'll buy it, right? And I'll play it. But I still think like a lot of people really just keep to like 1 or 2, you know? I think that's the lion's share. And lo and behold, here we go. I played 13, but the Steam median is just 4, right? Although 13 sounds small to me personally. And like I said, this is on Steam, right? And we'll get into more of the minutia in a bit. 13 still feels small to me. I'd be curious to see how this charts across the years, you know? I'd be curious to see like this data over the span of like I don't know, Steam's life, as long as they've been tracking the metrics or whatever. And longest streak was 91 days. I'm very curious what would have broken the streak, right? Obviously, there were a few things, like we went on a trip recently to see a friend get married, which was very nice, and I just straight up was like not at my computer or whatever. But I'm very curious when I broke the streak. But what's shocking is that the Steam median is 6, right? Very wild, just short of a week, right? Huh. Very, very interesting. Which makes me wonder, like, how many folks bring that number way down, I don't know. Like I said, I'm super curious about, like, what determines the median situation, right? Like, what determines someone who is in the Steam community, right? What determines that? I want to know. Anyway, new, recent, and classic games. 19% new releases, the percentage of playtime you had in new releases, games released in 2024. Yeah, true enough. I always have the older ones a little bit more on lock than new stuff, right? Such is a way of, like, the Let's Play channel, I think, wherein we kind of have a penchant for covering older games, right? But at the same time, I think there's never been a better time to be playing older games, Okay. 15% of playtime spent by all Steam users in new releases, games released in 2024. So I'm pretty close to the like average or whatever, right? The median. Or whatever all people do, right? I'm fairly close to that. Classic games, right? Percentage of playtime you had in releases from 8 or more years ago. I wonder what makes them determine 8 or more years. I wonder what that determination is. Like why did you decide 8 years rather than, like, 10? I'm very curious, like, why not retro as well? Like, if we want to get into other classifications, right, there would be vintage, classic, and retro, right? Those are, like, I think they're separated by, like, 10 years. Don't quote me on this. I think for something to be considered vintage, it needs to be at least 10 years old, I believe. And I forget what like, the consideration is for something to be classic or retro, But there are numbers assigned to some of these in other, I don't know, fields, as it were. Recent favorites. Percentage of playtime you had in releases from the last 1 to 7 years, right? I'm actually a bit lower, but really wild that a lot of people not playing new games, right? And true enough, like, especially last year, there were a lot of good games, right? There's just a lot of games now. People always talk about the backlog. Well, this is people tackling their backlog, right? Games go up in prices and stuff. Even if you're interested in, like, a new game, you don't always have time to play it, right? Case in point, like I've said, there's plenty of new ones that came out just this year that I just straight up didn't have time to even, like, mess around with, So I kind of was just like, just save the money or whatever, right? Like I just mentioned, I really would like to play the new Indiana Jones game. I would really like to play Stalker 2. I just don't have time for it at present, right? And, the backlog only grows with games that are more within that sort of interest niche, as it were. Anyway, you are what you play. This spider graph, is that what we call it? It shows the kinds of games you spent the most time in 24. Sorry. Dungeons and Dragons. Farming sim? What did I play that would be a farming sim? I don't think I played very much Stardew this year, did I? I did play some, but I don't know about that much. Honestly, I'm surprised Dungeons and Dragons isn't higher, right? Given BG3 being so high and, what do you call it? BG3 and BG2, both like my first and third game on there. I'm shocked that actually isn't the highest, all things considered, If we're going just literally Dungeons and Dragons, not even just like, oh, this is fantasy or whatever, right? But literally D&D. Horror is cranked way up. Why is that? Why is horror up so high? And is all of this determined kind of by player, like user-defined categories and all of that? I have no idea. Post-apocalyptic, obviously that's Fallout. MOBA. I tried to, what's it called? Deadlock. That's gotta be that. Space is undoubtedly Starfield. I'm shocked that horror is so very high. Right? I definitely realize that's gotta be like Dead by Daylight, but that's it. You know? That hasn't even cracked my top games played, it seems. You know? That wasn't up there, was it? Yeah. It's BG3, Starfield and BG2. What else? How is horror up so high? That's gotta be messed up, right? That's bogus. By the numbers, new friends added. Yeah, feel free to add me on Steam. I don't mind one way or the other. Badges earned 2. I don't know. Games gifted 1. I think I gifted BG3 to my partner. Workshop item subscribers. I don't even know what that's about. I think I made something for like Scribblenauts. Let's take a closer look at your top played games. Yeah, big surprise. It's BG3. I put in a lot. I've played a lot in a short amount of time. You can see here where I bought it. As BG2, our playthrough was coming to an end, and I was tooling around with character creation, sort of getting an idea of like, oh, what kind of character do I want to play as, right? Getting a lot in there, right? Yeah, just a ton. Just a ton. In September, a bit lower. Like I said, that was our big trip out for the week or all that, I believe. Shocking how much we got in August. That is unreal. And of course, December is still tabulating and all of that. Okay. Let's see. I got a whole bunch of Chivos. Starfield, I don't know, roughly consistent. A little bit lower. Bit of a dip in March and April, I guess, right? Honestly, I'm surprised there's not like a bigger dip when we went to... Like I said, I don't remember. Was it this year that I swapped from making Starfield a daily video series because I wanted to like sort of hold off until we got Shattered Space and all of that? That was a lot of the thinking behind it. And like I said, I've kind of fallen in love with the idea of like having just 2 games, right? Barring Morrowind Mondays. Morrowind Mondays is eternal. But just 2 games, and they both come out every day, you know, for simplicity's sake. That way nobody has to keep track of a schedule, myself included, right? Because, look, I can't lie. There are some days, even though I've been doing this for a long freaking time, and even when it comes to like long video series, right? Like with Skyrim, went on for like 502 videos. There are still times where I'll be like, oh God, what's today? What video do I need to do today? And I'll have a little bit of a like miniature panic attack. I'll be like, oh, did I record it already? What do I need to do? Right? I'll freak out a bit. But nonetheless, like I said, all for consideration. Man, we really, okay, I guess it was July. Right? I guess it must have been July when I altered the CRPG slot to be a daily occurrence, right? Because you can see here, it pretty much doubled, right? Pretty much doubled. Let's see. Dragon's Dogma 2. A game which I enjoyed. I enjoyed it. But, I don't know, didn't have as many, like, memorable super duper highs, I would say, as the first game, right? It felt fairly in line with the first game, right? It didn't do anything too freaking wild, I would say. You know, it was just like a more coherent, cohesive version of the first game, you know? And certainly it launched with some issues, some performance issues, and some like misinformed controversy about the microtransactions. I think a lot of that was idiotic. I'll be real with you. I think people were stupid about that. Right? I think that was dumb as hell. But otherwise, I quite enjoyed it. I'm very interested to see like if they'll do DLC or whatever, right? Kind of a shorter, tidier bit of a video series, right? Actually, looking at the like analytics for the YouTube channel, Dragon's Dogma 2 actually not that like well watched. It's got to be said, right? Like even the first game is a little bit more trafficked than the second, which is pretty unfortunate. I'm very curious how like sales and stuff have panned out and all that. I'm super curious about that, right? But that said, I enjoyed it. Time well spent, in my opinion. Very much enjoyed it. Did a lot in there. Fallout 3, you can see where we sort of began that. Really started cranking them out. My God. And yet somehow, despite these high percentages here, only 8%, right? Only 8%. Goodness gracious. I don't know. What's there to say about it? I've been enjoying Fallout 3, right? I guess who could have predicted how much I would enjoy having Jericho in the party? That's been the real shocker, is that, man, Jericho is absolutely like the star of the show. Wow, I'm absolutely loving Jericho. It's got to be said. It's been fun as well. There's a lot, not too dissimilar from the Skyrim playthrough, right? It's another Bethesda game. But not too dissimilar from it. Although I've played through Fallout 3 like 3 or 4 times prior to starting the playthrough, I've, first of all, never done an evil playthrough, which we're doing for the first time. And second of all, I've never had it to where, I have, what would you call it? Explored more of the unmarked locations or non-critical locations, right? Even tangentially critical, I guess, or just any location tied to a quest, right? I've checked those out. But ones not tied to quests, unless it was like directly in my path, I never went there, right? I made sure to do all the quests to the best of my ability in like a good or neutral playthrough, but never went out of my way to check out all the locations, which we're trying to do this time around, right? To the best of our ability, as per usual. Your playtime by month. Wow. Actually kind of surprised how high September is up on there. Oh, it's because of Baldur's Gate. That makes sense. Okay. even being busy in real life, Baldur's Gate managed to like conquer a share of my time, right? What have we got here? That's DD1, BG2, and Starfield right there. And then we started Dragon's Dogma 2. What's this up here? Stardew Valley. Yeah, the update. Right? And I just didn't quite have enough time because, as you can see, I started getting prepared or sucked into Dragon's Dogma 2, and then, oh, yeah, the Fallout 4 update as well. That stole me away from Stardew. Look at that, right as it diminishes. And then I never got back into it because we were about to finish up Baldur's Gate 2, and then 3 hits like a fucking truck in August. Right? Yeah. You can already see the Baldur's Gate 3 seeping in. Yeah. Wow, really nice way to see the timeline of events and how I just completely got knocked off of Stardew Valley's big update. Right? I enjoyed it, but like I said, there's no denying what went on there. Okay. 19% of your playtime was with a controller. Less than 1% in Starfield and Stardew Valley. That's probably just me like accidentally knocking the controller while it's plugged in, right? Dragon's Dogma 2 character creator, I think this is, right? And the rest of it is Dark Arisen. And for some reason, Dragon's Dogma 2 proper doesn't think I played it with a controller. Why is that? Huh. There must be something weird about that game, right? Yeah, it's tricking Steam. That should be significantly higher, right, than 3%. Yeah, in fact, these numbers don't even add up to 100. Am I tripping? Yeah, there's these numbers don't even add up to 100. What does this mean? Why does it say 3% there? And yet it's positioned here as if it would be at the top. Yeah, these are wrong. Steam is screwed up, right? And that's even ignoring all the like alt-right Nazis that have started cropping up all over like Steam community pages, right? It's screwed up even beyond that. Let's see. Your longest daily streak. 91. September. right? Like I said, out of town. During this time, you played 6 different games. Oh yeah, that's when I tried screwing around with V Rising. I played a little bit more of that. I quite enjoyed it, but something knocked me off. I bet it was Baldur's Gate. Hang on. Yeah, here we are. A little bit of V Rising sneaking in. Right down there. You saw it for a flash. A little bit of time. So yeah, there it is. Less than 1% in other games. V Rising. Right there. And here was some more. And then, Baldur's Gate 2 is wrapping up. And then suddenly, ba-boom, Baldur's Gate 3 sucks up all the time. Unbelievable. All right, explore the games you played this year. We can go down it, I guess. Yep, January. Really enjoyed revisiting Dragon's Dogma Dark Arisen. It's gotta be said. And here we got DD2 popping off, the character creator. There's a Stardew Valley update. The Fallout 4 Next Gen update. Man, I almost forgot that the Fallout TV show was this year too. That's wild. All right. And sort of like I said, as we expected, messing around a little bit with Deadlock. I don't know, I'm just not a MOBA person. Tried it with one of my friends. Oh, and here in December, yeah, I've been messing around with Marvel Rivals a little bit. Right? It's been okay, I don't know. It's a little floaty for me. Right? The fighting and stuff, I don't know. It doesn't capture quite like, the old TF2 vibe. It feels more like some of my lesser favorite parts of Overwatch that don't feel like TF2 kind of, it hones in on those more so. And I'm not sure if the map design is quite like on par with like TF2 either. I don't know. It's okay. It's fun. It's fun to screw around with like the superheroes and stuff and all the, it's a visual spectacle, right? It's a feast for the eyes and the ears. Okay. Oh, and of course, Dead by Daylight, kind of a staple here throughout. I've been playing it throughout the entire year, but it doesn't show up here. We'll see it in the Xbox one. That Dead by Daylight and Fortnite are the 2 primary games that we usually play with like some in real life friends and all of that on the regular, right? Sort of keep up with them, log in almost every night, I think, and get in some games of either of the 2, right? They're cross-play, they're, you don't need like a lot of gaming literacy, as it were, to sort of get into them and understand them, to like the skill floor is low and the ceiling is decently high, And like I said, accessibility is a big one, right? Them being like on pretty much every platform, cross-play, right? We're actually, that same group, very much looking forward to Baldur's Gate 3, and I'm very interested in how these less video games interested folks, they've got like a decent interest in it. I'm very curious how they will mesh on console with Baldur's Gate 3. I'm very curious about that. Right? Let's see. Part of the Steam community in 2024. Oh, here's a whole bunch of other people. I'll just scoot on by that real quick. There you go. I don't want to try and like reveal anybody who doesn't want to be revealed. All right. That ought to do it for Steam. All right. While we're here, though, as we're getting ready we'll do another cut into the sort of Xbox version of this. It's worth bearing in mind what is absent here, right? Let's go over to this in the grid view. Why not, right? Yeah, sure. It's worth keeping in mind what is absent here. We do Morrowind Mondays, right? I play Morrowind sort of through Steam, but because I launch it through OpenMW, Steam doesn't ever log my playtime in Morrowind, no matter what, right? So, isn't ever going to show up on here, despite the fact that I'm playing it and own it through Steam, and OpenMW and Tamriel Rebuilt are sort of feeding off of the data files of my Steam installation of Morrowind, But hey, such is the way of things. Also for consideration here, what isn't here, I haven't played anything on like GOG this year. That was mostly when I was like doing Cyberpunk, which another game that I would like to get back into, Cyberpunk for Phantom Liberty and all of that. Folks say I really need to try it, especially since I didn't really gel with it the first time through. I'd totally be down for that. At the very least, like, I've looked at the skill trees and stuff, and it looks, at a very basic level, it looks like it's a very fun, like, action role-playing game, right? The action loot and, like, shooting around and punching people and all that looks good, looks fun, right? At the very least, would probably get into that in a major way. It's on the to-do list, right? Also, of note, I mentioned this earlier, on the Epic Games Store, there's, like, 3 games, I think, that I've played with some regularity on there this year, which, of course, Epic Games Store, I don't believe has any sort of, like, analytics tracker or metrics or whatever of this sort. So we'll mention them here. This year, played, like I'd mentioned, a bunch of Fortnite, with that same group of friends, in real life friends and all of that. We sort of log in for that. Like I said, it's either that or Dead by Daylight pretty much every day, almost every day, I would say. We sort of do that, log onto voice over IP, all that good stuff. Also, on Steam, I played more Alan Wake 2. Last year, really, really loved Alan Wake 2. This year, still really good. Played some of the, some of that big update for their New Game Plus, which actually has ramifications for, like, the storyline and all of that, which, very great narrative in Alan Wake 2, if you're familiar with it. Highly recommend it. Something that I've thought about getting on the channel as well. The Remedy verse, as it were, the Remedy connected universe of games. Very good stuff. I also logged back into it for the DLC, for the Night Springs DLC, which was, like, kind of fun and pulpy. They were, like, a bunch of different, somewhat fairly disconnected stories. The final one, very wild, very interesting, has a lot of, like, implications for future stuff going forward with, like, Control. Same goes for the Lake House DLC, which I also really enjoyed a whole lot in a very different way, right? If the first one was kind of, like, almost silly, almost goofy, like, very pulpy, right? Very just like, oh, this is just, like, kind of corny fun, right? The other one, like, such a well put together story that, frankly, I even remarked on this before, I think on, like, Twitter or something when I was still there. I thought that the Lake House DLC for Alan Wake 2 was so well considered and so topical, without spoiling anything. I kind of wish that it was it's a full-fledged game covering that same topic, right? The way in which they go about doing it, sort of addressing it, and like I said, how topical it is, it's really, really enjoyable. It's kind of amazing that they got something so decently high quality out in such a short amount of time or whatever, right? Very much enjoyed it. And of course, I haven't put nearly enough time into this game as I would like, and probably that is owed to the fact of me getting sucked into Baldur's Gate 3. But Satisfactory on Epic Games Store. It's now on Steam too, but I got during the sort of early access period, they had like an early access sale one, like holiday season, I think, and I picked it up there. And it finally hit 1.0 and came out in full form, and I messed around in it quite a bit. Very much enjoyed that. Such a nice, like, chill, cozy game, right? Very, very into it. Really would like to get back into it as well. Sort of like, I can't help but see Stardew Valley there and think like, oh yeah, it's a similar situation. Just don't have the time for it, right? Don't have the time for it at present. That ought to do it for the Epic Games Store, I think. Right? And I think that covers all of our bases except for the Xbox stuff, which we'll do a brief cut here, and we'll be back again with the sort of Xbox year in review. All right, we are back one more final time with, like I said, the Xbox year in review 2024. As you can see already, it splashes right up there at the main spot. My most played game by far on here is undoubtedly Dead by Daylight. I believe 100% of all of this is through PC Game Pass, which I actually let lapse this year. I actually let my PC Game Pass lapse this year, and I just as you can see, in the past one, I just bought Dead by Daylight on Steam instead, because for a good amount of time, I was just like, I'm just pretty much playing this, right? I may as well let it lapse. I haven't been having time and opportunity to sort of mess around with the other ones. And as you can see, putting a crap ton of time on it this year, right? A lot of that owed to the fact that, like I said, almost every day, we sort of like gather with our in real life friends, my partner and I. We gather up with a group, another couple, and we sort of play either this or Fortnite, right? Nearly every day. And hey, that's how you get so many hours in such a short span of time, right? But I think I hadn't really gotten into it or played it much beyond this year at all. My partner quite enjoyed it a fair amount, but I tried it and I just couldn't really get into it. And I'm not gonna lie, sort of leading back into what I was talking about in the Epic Game Store situation, what kind of got me into it to give it another shake and to try it out was how much I liked Alan Wake 2, right? Last year, I absolutely loved the story and narrative of Alan Wake 2 so much that this year, early this year, guess who was a new playable character in Dead by Daylight, fully voiced by the same voice actor? That's right, Alan Wake came to Dead by Daylight, as well as 2 Lego skins for Saga Anderson and Rose Marigold, right? And I pretty much only play as Alan Wake unless I'm playing by myself as like a killer in this game, right? In which case I often play as Vecna, actually, to sort of lean back into the Dungeons and Dragons talk before. But yeah, I don't know if I would do the survivor stuff on my own. The killer stuff is quite fun, but like solo queuing as like a survivor seems like a nightmare, right? I wouldn't want to do that. But otherwise, fairly enjoyable, right? They have like a whole bunch of perks and stuff. Like it's a very shockingly systems heavy game. And I don't know, there's kind of fun in that. It's very much, I don't know, true enough, a lot of the perks and stuff you can get on characters that you can earn by playing, but there are some that you just can't earn by playing, right? Like, for instance, any of the licensed ones. So like Alan Wake or like Michael Myers or stuff like that. You can't have them, and they're like unique powers in the case of killers, or survivors, you can just swap them out. They're basically just skins. Killers actually have like unique play styles depending on who they are. But their perks, you get a pack of like you get like a set of 3 perks associated with that survivor. And you can wait for them to show up in this like weekly rotating store and get them that way. But it's such a like tedious pain in the butt to track that I don't know who goes out of their way to do it, right? It's such a pain in the butt. But you can get licensed character perks that way. Like I said, it's kind of a pain in the butt. It's annoying because there are so many characters in the game, right? And they include non-licensed characters in there too, in that rotating store. But although a lot of the perks owned by characters who are licensed are kind of like super niche, if you get into it from a mechanical level, you're like, oh shoot, I kind of want to play around and tool around with this character's perk, right? Well shoot, there's a sale right now, I guess I'll just drop like $2 on this character, that way I can mess around with their perk, you know? Which I guess, you know, considering the total time spent, money well spent, right? Very much enjoyed it, but make no mistake, it's kind of, I don't know, I think it's a bit of a screwed up system, frankly, right? Like it's the rotating store and all of that. It rotates weekly, and there's a bunch of characters, right? There's a bunch of characters. It's, I don't know if it's, I don't know. The monetization could use some work, I think, and probably won't ever see any because it definitely benefits the game, right? But hey, it was Alan Wake that brought me to this game and finally got me into it. And like I said, now we play it fairly regularly. Here, as you can see, all my time spent was on PC. Didn't spend any of it on console, mobile, or cloud. Probably want to hit up some more cloud stuff, I think, for, like, I don't think they're ever going to touch Fable 2 or 3 for PC and bring that back. And that is something I would like to have on the channel. So we're probably going to have to, like, I'll probably have to re-up PC Game Pass and then go back and, like, play them through the cloud, you know? That's probably going to have to be what we do, unfortunately enough. Let's see, over here, top 4% of players for time played, right? I mean, I figured that'd be high, right? Like, not only am I into it as, like, a hobby, but also it's, like, it's work as well, right? So, of course, these are going to be high, right? Top 10% for gamer score, which is fairly high, despite the fact that I don't really care about achievements in a lot of games, right? It's the only time I really care about achievements and getting points like that is if it's a single-player game that I really like and the achievements are cleverly made enough to where it's like, ooh, this is a fun way to interact with the game now that I've kind of seen a lot that there is to see, right? This is a different way to think about the game, you know? Top 1% for most active players, that's wild. That is wild. My top Chivo is Adept Lich. Once again, like I said, playing on Vecna. Oh, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I can't lie. That isn't me playing that. I'm not gonna lie to you. That ain't me playing that. That is my partner playing that with one of her friends. All this playtime here, none of that's me, right? That is purely her playing with one of her best friends and enjoying that. Starfield, somehow this is logged here too, right? I think because it's a Bethesda game now owned by Microsoft, even when you log into Starfield, it detects like, oh, you have a Microsoft account, right? So anytime I put into the game, they're picking up on it. Other ones I played, somehow Stardew Valley. Oh, I think that's also my partner trying Stardew Valley right before I got it for her. Pal World, that came out this year. I had some stupid fun with that. Once again, playing it with my partner and all that. Oh, thanks, Phil Spencer. Thanks for the shout out. I'm sure it's worth listening to. More games and more stats. It's your year with Game Pass. Total minutes played? Dog, I don't know what minutes are. 55,000 minutes? What does that mean? Give me hours. I don't know what 55,000 minutes is. You think I know what that is? I don't know what that is. These are my months subscribed, which, man, that's a whole bunch. But I will give you, and they don't do this anymore. The way I got a whole lot of Game Pass is it's not the cleverest method. There was certainly one that was way more clever. But it used to be that I think it was Target that sold for like either half off or more Game Pass time cards, right? So around Black Friday, I would just buy up like as many as I could, and I'd be like, yeah, sure. I've been playing a lot of stuff on Game Pass or whatever. I'll keep going with it, right? Why not? But like I said, this year, finally, I let it lapse because I just ain't been doing it as much, right? Sign of the times. And true enough, there are games on there that I want to play. Like I mentioned, Indiana Jones, Stalker 2, both on Game Pass. I would love to try that. But, the backlog is what it is. There's just not enough time, right? What can you do? Rewards for the games you love to play. Heck yeah. Points earned, points spent. Yeah, I built up some of these points, these reward point things. Dog, I'm out here using Bing a lot of the time so I can get more points when I search stuff up, right? These Microsoft points, if you don't know about these, listen, if you're fucking broke like me, you need to look into this point situation, right? Dog, I set Bing to my default search thing. I'll go over to Google. I'll go over to Chrome if I need to or whatever, right? But just by default, I do it like this. That way I get a few points every few days. It ain't much, but every so often, I get a free pair of socks, baby. I get a free pair of socks. And you know what? That ain't half bad, right? All these points, those have gone to darn tough socks made in Vermont with a lifetime warranty, baby. That's right. That's how I'm doing it, right? All right. That ought to do it there, huh? That's the end of the line. Yeah, definitely look into the point system for real, right? I'm pretty sure you can participate in it even if you don't have Game Pass, but I think they give you like extra junk if you are, right? Yeah, it's pretty decent. I think some people try to pay with their Game Pass sub, which I think you can still do for the PC version because it's only like $8 a month or so at full price. something like that. It's like an odd, peculiar number. But some folks are absolutely able to pay for their subs through that, which is kind of wild to me. But I buy socks. It's what I do. I buy socks with a lifetime warranty, right? It's pretty cool. That ought to do it, right? For this sort of year in review, sort of like look at all the games I've played and enjoyed and all of that this year. Hopefully, you've played games too. Hopefully you've enjoyed playing games and watching me play them as well, right? Thanks for everything. Thanks, of course, for watching this, I guess. This isn't like our big end of year one, though. That's for next week, I think, right? I think the day before New Year's is a Tuesday, something like that. So we'll get another one of these in at least. But yeah, thanks for watching. Like I said, busy time. Expect some shorter videos. Unfortunately, this one wasn't. It kind of sucks for me. But I got cookies to bake, right? If you're doing Christmas, have a Merry Christmas. Otherwise, Happy Holidays and or a Festivus for the rest of us. Until next time, please take care of each other.